This is Mutual of Omaha's illustration of an index universal life insurance policy. I'm going to do a quick overview of what the illustration looks like to explain some details that might not be easily understood. This gives you a chance to look at your illustration in comparison to know exactly what you're looking at. So this is on a particular person here. I'll show you his details. Male, 38, non-tobacco, 300,000. It's going to be $160 a month for this gentleman. The indexing strategy is just a S&P 500 year to year, 100% participation rate. It gives you these stock riders that come along with it, which is going to be a chronic, critical, terminal illness rider. Those particular details that give you a chance to have some additional protection over any other traditional insurance. This right here is an illustration showing you how that S&P 500 100% year to year works. Basically, the S&P 500 was at 2,000 points this year. Next year, it goes up to 2,100, an increase, 2,150 to be exact. What they do is the 100% participation. You're going to look at whatever that is minus whatever it is. So, for example, it was 2,000 the year before, and then it's 2,100 this year. They'll take away the 2,000, leaving 150. With that being said, you divide that into the 2,000 times 100 equals 7.5%. That's going to be your credited interest rate that goes towards your cash accumulation. I will move on down. This is your accelerated death benefit riders. These are living benefits. This is where it's going to take care of you in the event that you become sick. They show you all the different details. They basically accelerate the death benefit from the 300,000 if you happen to have kidney failure, major organ failure, heart attack, stroke, AIDS, dementia, aortic aneurysm. And then, of course, the accelerated death benefit also comes if you become disabled. That would fall underneath the chronic deal here, chronic illness. 90 days, consecutive days where you lose 2 out of 6 daily living attributes, basically, is the overall on that. And then as far as when it comes to the chronic illness, how that works and what they pull from it, you're going to be able to pull up to about 80% here. If you notice the actual base plan death benefit of 300,000 up to 240,000 and the max, the initial acceleration is 153,000, correct? There you go. So that's chronic illness, critical illness. They're both exactly the same, up to 80%. But it looks like if you have a critical illness, you can immediately have the initial acceleration of the full amount, opposed to what would be the chronic illness as a disability. We're moving on down the accounts. This goes over your overview, the indexing. Basically, they're telling you 100% participation rate, segmented out, 12-month point to point. So from the beginning of your policy year to the following 12 months after that policy year. So it's an annual check of the market. These are your annual market index return and crediting, showing you that you have a couple different options. You can do the 100% participation rate with a 9.25 cap. You can do also a participation rate of 140% with a cap rate of 6.5. You have a 1-year uncapped participation rate with the BOFA. This one right here is typically going to be stock that you get. Gives you a 9.25 max. When we look at the historical data, this is going to show you basically the S&P 500 repeated over and over the last 10 years, giving you an idea of what those participation rates side by side, showing you basically if you did the 100% participation rate, what that looked like from those previous years as accrediting on your savings account in the IUL. This is the 1-year high percentage, the uncapped, and then basically this is the BOFA with the index. As we move on down to look at what the actual, these are accelerated death benefits that we just talked about. It even comes with the lapse guard too as well. Paid up insurance, basically all of the monthly premium and the cash accumulation in there. They'll decide on what your total death benefit is. If you decide to stop paying on it, it'll be paid up insurance. So you have a permanent insurance waiting there for the day of your passing. So we move forwards into some actual illustrations. If I can find it, it's a very extensive illustration. It goes over all your details. But the important part is here is we want to look at how you can accumulate some wealth in this particular policy. Moving on down here, this right here is your ledger or a tubular view of how it works. Basically, this is a 300,000 death benefit level years 1 through 82, and it's $161 a month. Your annual outline is 1936 per year, and it shows you your policy 1 through 5 years and how this gentleman would be 43 in 5 years. Moving through the illustration over here to the right, this is your 5.9 column, which is going to be probably your average, meaning that in 5 years with the acceleration or the non-guaranteed value, basically they're saying at 5.9%, you should have roughly about 5,300 in this particular policy. If you bump up to 10 years later, 13,000, 23,000, so on and so forth as your death benefit continues. You do not have any surrender value for the first 5 years until after that. And then if you notice, it starts to catch up with itself, and then they'll start matching in like year 16. So with that being said, this is basically showing you year 25 in the policy. You should have 56,000 accumulated in here. Keeps going on and so forth. That is basically the most important part of this illustration. You do have the ability to put more money into these policies in order to help accumulate higher cash values too as well, in order to be able to have some tax-free retirement money growing on these policies. This is a basic overview of the Mutual Omaha illustration for the Index Universal Life.